Hello, everybody. I don't know what that was. Sorry. Hey, everybody. Hope you are doing well this week. I got to see some of you this morning. Fun fact, I'm recording this on Sunday today, which is today. So anyway, I got to see some of you today. It was great to see you. Hopefully we'll be all back together soon. But as we're here for a reason, we're going to hop into the lesson. So have any of you ever had a favorite movie or really like a movie, but you didn't really understand what was going on, and until somebody kind of explained to you what was happening, it didn't make sense? Or maybe at the beginning of the movie, they just kind of explained the context of what was going on. For me, Remember the Titans is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I kind of knew the historical context, but if I didn't know that and they didn't explain it at the beginning of the movie, I really wouldn't have understood what was going on, because in my context, football teams have black and white people. Anybody can play. So it was like, why is it such a big deal that their schools been integrated? But without knowing how things were back then, I would have been confused. So as we continue to move into Joseph's story, we're going to kind of see how sometimes backstory is important, while continuing this theme of what to do when we don't know what to do. And today we're going to talk about what to do when we go through like real life stuff, heavy stuff, hard stuff, things that you like, I don't really know how to get through this. I don't know why God is allowing me to go through this. I don't know what I'm supposed to learn from this. It just seems like right now I am going through a season, I'm going through a challenging time, and I do not understand what's going to happen, what I'm supposed to learn from this. Like I said, why God is allowing this to happen. We see God as a good and gracious God, and He is. Well, sometimes we go through things in life, and it simply doesn't make sense. It hurts. It feels pointless. And, you know, when we watch a movie, even if it's based on a real story, we get it in 2 hours. So we get to see the problem. We get to see it start to get better. And we usually see a solution or resolution at the end of the movie. But sometimes life doesn't look like that. So today we're going to talk about what to do when we're going through tough times like that. And just to recap, before we hop back into scripture, to remember, Joseph was sold into slavery by his own brothers. You know, they traded him because they were jealous of him. So he was sold into slavery by his own brothers. He was taken to Egypt, and he was forced to work for a high-powered official. So he was working for the Pharaoh. He was a big man on campus. But then Pharaoh's wife falsely accused Joseph of trying to have sex with her. For that, he got thrown into prison. So Joseph has had a crazy life. He got sold into slavery. God was still with him, and he was able to elevate to this position of high power. But then his wife, Pharaoh's wife, did him dirty, and he's in prison. So we're going to pick up now in Genesis 40, Joseph's life, and we're going to read about Joseph making some new friends. So Genesis 40, 1 through 3. After this, the king of Egypt's cupbearer and baker offended their master, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his 2 officers, the chief cupbearer and chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guards in the prison where Joseph was confined. So we see the cupbearer and the baker made the king mad, and now they're all in jail with Joseph. So I guess he just sends all the people that work for him that he gets mad at to this same prison. So Joseph is in prison for a crime he didn't commit, but he's still able to be here with them now. So we can continue in verse 4. The captain of the guards assigned Joseph to them as their personal attendant, and they were in custody for some time. The king of Egypt's cupbearer and baker, who were confined in the prison, each had a dream. Both had a dream on the same night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw they looked distraught. So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" "We had dreams," they said to him, "but there is no one to interpret them." Then Joseph said to them, "Don't interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." So then they told him this dream. With God's help, Joseph was able to decipher them, tell them exactly what they meant. And he really helped them a lot. So Joseph interprets the dream, things work out well. He gets out of jail, and he forgets about Joseph. Joseph's like, hey, I told you what this dream meant. It happened. Don't forget about me. And then 2 years went by, and the cupbearer kind of forgot about Joseph. But then the Pharaoh started to have dreams, and no one could interpret them. He was asking all these different people, and then the cupbearer remembered, oh, by the way, 2 years ago when I was in jail that you put me in, this dude named Joseph interpreted my dream, and it was great. He got it right. You probably should hit him up. So Pharaoh, oh yeah, that's my boy Joseph. I know he's in jail, but I need help interpreting dreams. So he sent for Joseph. Joseph comes, and with the help of God, Joseph interprets the king's dreams perfectly. So as a result, the Pharaoh and the king, same thing. I realize I keep saying both. Pharaoh, king, same difference. The Pharaoh put Joseph as the second in charge of all of Egypt. So Joseph went from being trained in slavery, worked his way up to being in charge of everything, to being thrown into prison, to now he is the second in charge in all of Egypt. When Joseph was in charge of everything, second in charge, Egypt prospered. Things got better. They were able to avoid famines. They just pretty much became the best country that they could be because Joseph was in the position to help them get there. God was blessing Joseph like he did the first time. Now, this didn't make Joseph's situation perfect. Joseph still endured all of those things. Joseph still had to go through everything he did, but it was still, because of that, God was able to put him in that position of power. And that's kind of what the point is today. Hard things can happen in life, but it's important to remember that sometimes God can use those things for a purpose. I know there's so many things in my life that I've gone through, so many instances where I went through a challenging season. I lost a loved one. I was struggling with a certain sin, and I was like, God, why am I going through this? I don't truly understand how you can use this for good. And then it could be years down the road, and God brings me to have this conversation with a person, and I'm able to say, oh, I went through this before. I can help you through this. So when you don't know what to do, remember that your problems can position you for a purpose. And sometimes it's just hard to hear. This is hard to understand, especially when you're in the midst of it, especially when you are trying to fight through it. But Romans 8:28 tells us this. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So it is saying that everything, even though we may sin, we may fall, God can use all of that for his good and perfect will. So there's two things that I want you to remember. Maybe you just come out of a season of hardship. Maybe you are going into one. Maybe you've never experienced it yet. But I want you to remember two things. Remember that no one else has your life story. Someone else may have a similar story. Someone may have similar experiences. But you are unique in your experiences. And God can use that to help someone else. They may be going through something different, but you have an interesting perspective. Some of you have experienced things that I never will. I've experienced things that none of you will. And God can use that. God can use you for his glory. And the second thing is remember that your story can interact with others. Like I've been saying, you can go through something, not really know how God's going to use it, but he can. And then once you get to the other side, it's like, this all makes sense now. It was tough going through, but I'm such a better person now. I understand how to handle this situation. I can help others through this situation. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about in our small group today. Joseph went through a lot of stuff that may have seemed pointless, but he was able to save Egypt from a famine. He was able to save his own family. The same family that traded him into slavery, he was able to provide for when times got tough. And it's just like, man, I don't know if I could be Joseph and on the other side of that provide for my family, but he did, because God was with him, and he stayed rooted in his faith. So as we talk about this in our small groups, just think about the idea of things you may be going through, things you've went through, and how you can allow God to use that in your life to help others. Praying for you guys. Love you guys. See you in a few.